hold up the world. Very good.
You are so right. Guess what time it is? It is Tuesday, the last Tuesday in August. And we're still rooting for the Dallas Wings, but it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John Donalo.
Hey, everybody. It's me, Paul Seaburn. How's everybody doing this afternoon? Thank you, Karen Hale, for that wonderful introduction. You are listening or watching, if you're on YouTube, What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. Karen Hale is our producer, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our platform, where hopefully you figured out how to find us on Spotify and Apple and all those other great places. Also on YouTube, for those of you who would like to see what we look like and possibly catch some of the photos that we'll be talking about today. So if you're there, if you're live, welcome to those of you who are listening or watching live. And as always, my sidekick, my old friend John Donalo, with our color commentator, host of What in the World of Sports with John Donalo. Hey, John, how are you today?
I am great, Paul. We're going to have a great show and great weather in Cleveland. And let's get to it.
That's right.
He's not wearing a hat today.
No, that's right.
It's kind of a new look, Karen and Paul and audience. always want to keep changing up a little bit. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Only for John is no hat a new look. So thank you everybody for joining us at What in the World. I hopefully you come to join us every week to hear the weird news, the strange news. No business, no politics. Although I do have one. I'm going to slightly bend the rule today. You'll find out about that. But I have to because it was part of the presidential debate. So you'll find out. We've got Loch Ness Monster stories out the wazoo, as they say today. There's a huge Loch Ness Monster investigation going on. We've got world records. We've got people eating picnic lunches while dangling over a giant gorge. We've got strange food competitions. We've got John's got a weird sport for us today. But I want to say, if I start to drool in the middle of the podcast, it's because I just came from the dentist. Now they didn't shoot me up with Novocaine, but what happened was the dentist, my dentist is very young. So she was asking me about the podcast and I said, "Oh, I'm going to be talking about the Loch Ness." At this, she said, "I've never heard of that. What is the Loch Ness Monster?" Well, I could talk for hours about the Loch Ness Monster.
Absolutely.
At that point, I've got hands in my mouth. Oh boy! I don't think she remembered anything I said to her. So, Doctor, I'm not going to mention her name. I'm saying this all in fun because she said she was going to listen to the podcast. So I'm just picking on you. That's what we do on What in the World. Don't worry. I've got a whole bunch of those funny stories that I was telling you about coming up in just a second. So let's get right to it. Let's see. We're all set to go here. So let me get right to story number one. I do want to mention the Dallas Wings. Karen mentioned the Wings. Congratulations to them, by the way. They beat the Phoenix Mercury, was that on Sunday?
Yes. Yep.
I believe it eliminated them from the playoffs. First time in 11 years, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Way to go, Wings. Wow.
Congratulations to them.
We're getting really excited, but I just have to say, as the Wings advance, that means it will be weeks, months before I get to see my son. But go Wings.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's right. That's right. Well, he's making money. That's the main thing. So, yeah, this is the last show of August, which means we are approaching this weekend the proverbial end of summer. The Labor Day holiday is not the official end of summer. It's the unofficial end of summer and the start of fall. So I didn't know this, but this is part of our story. The fall is when spiders leave the outdoors and come inside. So you're going to start to see more spiders in your house. If you're an arachnophobe, that's probably a bad thing to hear. If you like spiders, maybe it's a good thing. I don't know if you like to find them in your salad or something. But the other thing it means, before we get to that, the end of summer and the beginning of fall also means that something comes back every year, and it's not the falling leaves, it's pumpkin spice. I went to get my oil changed the other day, and the guy says to me, "What do you want? Do you want the regular oil? Do you want the synthetic, or do you want the pumpkin spice?" It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So, there's pumpkin spice air freshener. There's a tough choice. Once you've gone to the bathroom and you need to spray the air freshener, which is worse, pumpkin spice or the smell that you're covering up? I don't know. Some people might choose the other one. John, for example, might choose the other one. I don't know. He just waits, except he doesn't have his hat on today.
That's right. That's right.
So, what in the world household tips for this week is how to keep the spiders out of your house. Believe it or not, this is a real thing. Lavender oil, or the smell of lavender. The flowers, the oil, the extract. I don't know, how else do you get lavender smell, Karen? Is it like soap or shampoo?
Well, they use lavender in a lot of things, like soap. Yeah.
Okay, so you just put it by your door or by the window, and it's supposed to keep the spiders out. To be doubly ensured that the spiders are out, take some lavender oil and put it on a rolled up magazine, and then show it to the spider. Say, okay, you have a choice.
That'll work.
The spider can see it.
There you go. That's right. We can do this easy, or we can do this difficult. It's up to you. All right, so there's your household hit tip for this week from What in the World. Okay, here's another household tip. 2 for the price of 1. We don't normally have household tips. So this one comes from Vancouver, Washington. Lady had been washing her hands in the kitchen, and one day she noticed that her hands weren't getting clean, and the soap wasn't actually bubbling. So she sniffed the bar of soap and found out that it was not soap at all. It was a block of cheddar cheese.
Ooh. Oh.
So, first thing I would do is call up her kids and say, "Put your lunch bag down." Or trade it with some other kid, maybe. So I don't know what kind of, she claimed that it happened one evening. That's all she can think of is, I must have had one of those nights I drank the whole bottle of wine, and I went to get some cheese, and somehow the cheese and the soap got mixed up. But even at that, a bar of cheddar cheese is orange. Karen, is there any kind of soap that's orange that you can think of that would deceive you into thinking that it's soap and not cheddar cheese?
I don't think I've used a bar of soap in 20 years. I use liquid soap.
Well, that explains a lot, Karen. What do you use? Liquid soap? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Liquid soap. All right. Well, believe it or not, John, how about you? Yeah, but to be fair here, if we get both the male and the female perspective.
Oh, in our household, we pretty much have liquid soap also.
Liquids, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I have an orange bar of soap. Now, this is not soap that I wash my hands with, but I want to show it to you because my mom used to use this soap. And let's see. Oh, there we go. There's our What in the World screen. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. So somewhere here I have a little arrow that I will press, and here we go. Bar of orange soap.
Oh wow.
I remember that soap, Paul. I remember that soap.
You remember that
I had that soap in her house. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Karen, I'm going to ask Karen because I don't know if John knows the answer. What did you use this for? Phil?
I know I saw it in my mother's house, but I don't ever remember her using it.
Aha.
No, maybe she put it in our mouth when we got sassy.
Oh, no.
The purpose of Fell's naphtha, and I had to look it up because I don't remember my mother using it. But if your mother didn't use it, it's because you were very neat and tidy. Because it's used for it was used in the old days for removing stains. It was invented in 1893. And it contains naphtha. That's where the name comes from, Naphtha, naphtha, which is get ready for this, a flammable liquid hydrocarbon mixture made from crude oil, natural gas condensates, coal tar, and peat. Do you want to be rubbing that on your clothing or even having it touch your skin?
No way.
And yet, it believe it or not, I got a stain on my shirt. Let me go get some coal tar extract to wipe it off with. Believe it or not, this comes from the Bible. This actually comes from the Bible. The book of 2 Maccabees tells how a thick water was put on a sacrifice at the time of Nehemiah. And when the sun shone, it caught on fire. And then it said, Nehemiah called it Nephthar, which means purification. So the name naphtha came from the Bible as a word to describe purifying or cleaning while using a flammable thing.
That's interesting. That's interesting, Paul.
That's a good word. We'll use that word, John. Because I'm not sure what else it is. And I was thinking, Irish Spring. I haven't used Irish Spring in a long time, but if I remember correctly, Irish Spring is kind of green and white stripes. Kind of looks like Roquefort cheese. Now that I was thinking about it, don't you think a minty Roquefort cheese is what Irish Spring?
That's a good way to describe it, Paul.
John, if you can come up with any others. Next time you're in the grocery store, go down the soap aisle and see what else might inspire you there.
Yeah, okay, I will. Thanks.
And then get a load of this. The Bell's naphtha does not contain naphtha anymore. Okay, it's like one of those things where they changed the formula, but they kept the name. The reason why, not because it was explosive and could cause a fire in your laundry room, but because they thought it might cause cancer. So explosions, okay. Cancer, bad. That's the rule for the soap industry.
Okay.
So now we go to food. We love talking. I at least love talking about food on What in the World. John gets hungry. Karen's going to get grossed out by this one, as many of my food stories tend to do. So this comes from, and this is a hint, the Disgusting Food Museum, which is in Sweden. I think, Karen, way back when we used to do the show at Joe Max Donut, I think we talked about the Disgusting Food Museum one.
Probably.
Yeah. Many, many displays of disgusting food from around the world, like roasted guinea pig from Peru and the Casu Marzu cheese from Sardinia, which is made with sheep's milk and served with, get ready for this, live maggots.
Oh
boy.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see any soap that looks like that.
no.
Really?
From Sardinia. Remember that when you're planning your vacation. But so this one's from Sweden. This is a food from Sweden. It's called surströmming, which means fermented herring. So it's not pickled. I happen to like pickled herring. Pickled herring is not smoked, it's fermented. They add a little bit of something, just a tiny bit, to help the fermenting process go on. But it's basically rotten herring. And yeah, but it's a delicacy. Let me show it to you. This is the contest here. It's a delicacy in Sweden. So salt, they add salt to it. So it takes 6 months for it to reach the consistency where it smells so bad that these people want to eat it. So this guy on the screen here who's gobbling down this fermented herring. He had 1 minute to eat as much fermented herring as he could. He broke the world record. He ate 13.85 ounces, almost a pound of this herring. Now you can see the spectators on the other side of the screen. They're all holding their noses. You can't see the bucket because I didn't want Karen to get grossed out, but every one of the competitors had a vomit bucket next to them because that's where most of the fermented herring ended up. He was one of the few people who actually made it through the entire minute without having to use the bucket.
I wonder if next year, instead of a hot dog eating contest, Joey Chestnut eats fermented herring.
Oh, I'm sure he could do well but they said opening the can causes people to vomit. I have a picture here. Yeah. Take a look at it. I mean, just looking at it is kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
It obviously looks like fish, but the liquid surrounding it is all cloudy and stuff floating in it. And
what is that liquid? What is that liquid?
Your guess is as good as mine, John. Fish pee. I don't know.
It looks terrible. It looks awful.
It does look awful. So this guy is Swedish. He grew up eating it, but he said he hadn't eaten it in 15 to 20 years. And he heard about the contest and he thought, it might be fun to eat some again in competition. So he ate almost 2 full cans of this stuff.
Oh boy.
He said, I read about it in the paper, sounded like fun. I don't know. Eating things that could cause me to vomit does not sound like fun.
Definitely.
Yeah. But although, John, it's hard to believe that this isn't a fraternity thing that we would have had to go through when we were in college.
Thank goodness we didn't. Thank goodness we didn't have to do that. Wow.
I can just see the older members talking to the pledges, once rush week is over. This is the time everybody's going through rush week, the college student.
Right. This week, right, yeah.
They don't tell you if you really want to get into the frat, you got to eat a can of this rotten fish.
Oh, no.
Now, vomit buckets, on the other hand, I think vomit buckets are a good idea. And I think that they should have one installed next to every seat at the Guardians games from now on. Just a suggestion. We like the Wings. The Guardians, not so much. Okay.
They're just having a rough year. Come on.
A rough year. Okay. All right. Okay. We'll leave it at that. I'll just note John does not have anything of Guardians logo nature on today. So
yeah, you're right.
Yes.
A subtle.
I have Guardian gear though. I do have it. Yes.
You do have it. I know you do have a closet full of it. Okay, one more food story. A food and sports story, John, just for you.
Okay.
So this guy, Tennessee Titans quarterback Will Levis or Levis, maybe his name is Levis. Have you heard of this guy?
Levis. I think he's a rookie. If I got that, he's a rookie, or he has played 1 year in the league. That's it.
Okay, I don't think he's going to last too long. And here's the reason why. He just revealed on social media that he likes to drink his coffee with a spoonful of mayonnaise.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what happens when you endorse things like that? He just got a lifetime supply of Hellman's mayonnaise just so he can put it in his coffee when he has it. Can you imagine, John? I'm sure the veterans on the team are razzing the heck out of this poor guy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh,
they
yeah.
probably cornered him in the shower and covered him with mayonnaise. For a hazing ritual. That's it. Knowing what those guys do. However, now, would you try that, John? Mayonnaise in your coffee?
No. I'm not a coffee drinker in the first place.
Yeah.
And just the thought of having mayonnaise, any kind of mayonnaise or any kind of like condiment like that in a cup of coffee, it's awful.
It's awful. Yeah. Any condiment that I was going to say, mustard, ketchup, you name it, relish. I don't want any of those things in my coffee.
Oh. definitely not.
Yeah, next thing you know, Starbucks, you're going to be getting the BLTC, bacon, lettuce, tomato, and coffee.
Ugh.
Oh my.
However, I am one for getting things for free. And if companies will give you a lifetime supply of something in return for putting a spoonful of it in your coffee, I will put a spoonful of Sohio Premium in my coffee tomorrow because I could go for a lifetime supply of gasoline.
Oh boy.
That's one of those things. Would you eat a spoonful of gasoline for your lifetime supply, John?
No, I think Paul, it's too dangerous. Too dangerous.
Oh,
And-
come on, too dangerous. Your mother washed her clothes with Fel's naphtha. You didn't think that was dangerous?
Well, I somehow survived that, and sort of my brothers and my sister, and my folks, right? So
Well, we are not endorsing gasoline in coffee.
Oh, we're not. That's right. Kids, don't try this at home. However, here's another thing that you might want to try at home. So this one comes from Tokyo. Toshitaki Suzuki, who is an associate professor at the University of Tokyo. He studies the language of birds. So he's not an ornithologist which studies just birds. He studies the language of birds, pretty specialized. So he wanted to study the language of the great tits. And don't worry, I've got plenty of the jokes coming up. But what happens when what happens when he would go and look at great tits, they would escape. They would run away from him. So the way to get, and remember, YouTube's censored. We're talking about birds here. So here's what he did. He disguised himself as a great tit.
Really?
So before you get the wrong impression, all of you with your brains in the gutter out there, he has a bird's head on him, like a giant, like a Halloween head. But the rest of him looks like a normal guy with a backpack sitting in the woods, hopefully waiting for one of these birds to show up, one of these great tits.
I mean, wouldn't a bird realize that this is much bigger than them?
Well, that's right. I'll give you the results.
That's too logical, Karen. That's way too logical.
But I'm going to ask everybody out there, especially my friends down in Texas, would you wear would you wear a bird's head to see a pair of great tits? Of course you would. Dolly Parton, maybe, I don't know. Pamela Anderson or Bluebird. That's what we're talking about here. So so it turns out it's a real problem that this particular breed of bird is very afraid of humans. So this is not the way to go. He said he did this for a year, believe it or not. He wore that thing into the woods every day for a year, and not once did he get close to the great tits
Well, what does that tell you?
So now he's on the blacklist. He's on the the great tits blacklist. So I don't know. Maybe he should have tried chirping. Chirping like a.
Hey, Paul, how do you spell the name of this bird? Just for the record.
TITS, just like it sounds.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. BOOB, John.
I never heard of the bird before. To be honest with you, just
Okay.
be honest.
All right. So we're gonna move on from things that sound dirty to, but aren't. To Bigfoot. Okay, so John loves Bigfoot. I've got a Bigfoot photo here, 2 photos, as a matter of fact. This one comes from Tucker County, West Virginia. So Samuel Polischuk was camping in a forest in West Virginia, in Tucker County, and he was hiking through the woods, and he came upon a cliff, and he looked up on the top of that cliff, and he saw this. There we go. Okay, so I don't even need to circle this because you can see what he was looking at. Up on the top of that cliff, there's a dark something. Looks like it might be standing, sitting, overlooking. There you go. Thank you, Karen. Karen circled it for us. overlooking the woods on the top of the cliff. So he took now I want to commend Samuel Polishuk for taking not only a good a photo, but a clear photo to an extent, and John will be the judge of that. But before John judges the photo, I want to zoom in on it for you so you can see what he was looking at. So now he still believes, as do many of the people that looked at this, that what he was looking at was either Bigfoot or some sort of swamp monster. In fact, he mentioned that it smelled like skunk, which is what the skunk ape smells like. So John, take a look at that photo there. It looks kind of hairy. It looks it's definitely behind a bush. Looks kind of wet, like it might have been in a swamp. So I've sold it as hard as I can. What do you think?
Honestly, Paul and Karen, on first blush, looks like a dog. To me, it looks like a dog.
Okay, yeah, that's been one of the suggestions. That's right. It does look like a dog. Another suggestion is that it looked like a tree that fell over and has been rotting. That looks like the bottom of the stump of a tree, maybe.
Could be. Yeah,
with the roots and everything.
Mhm.
Because if you sort of look inside of it, you can see, let me see if I can do this.
Oh, I see what you're referring to. Yeah.
Yeah, you see
Right
certain
side, yeah.
things in there.
To one side, it looks like there might be a trunk
Yeah.
extension.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, yeah, these look like broken roots.
Yeah. So very disappointing that such a clear picture, unfortunately, is not Bigfoot. But
Not definitive enough.
I'll tell you what, though, John and Karen and everybody out there, a lot of people who saw the photo said they believed him when he said that he thought he saw a swamp ape or Bigfoot. Okay, so now to show how far ahead, I've said this many times. Well, you hear news first on What in the World. We are far ahead of the mainstream media on a lot of these subjects. And one of them is the one that's coming up next, UFOs. We talk about UFOs, UFO sightings. So it turns out during the Republican debate, the Republican presidential candidate debate, the subject of UFOs actually came up. They asked former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie if he was elected president, if he would provide the American public with the truth about UFOs. And he seemed kind of put off about the whole question. He said, "Oh, I get the UFO question? Like, why didn't you ask somebody else?" Now, I think he should have been happy about it because he could make a lot of money selling campaign T-shirts and mugs with a picture of him and an alien on it, like some other people are capitalizing on other photos. But I was thinking if they should ask anybody about UFOs or aliens, it should have been Mike Pence, the former vice president, because if you remember, he actually had a UFO, some sort of flying object on his head during the vice presidential debate back in 2020. And I didn't bring up a photo of it because I didn't want to do that. But John, do you remember what was on his head back then?
No, Paul, I don't. I honestly don't.
Karen, he had a fly on his head. He had a fly buzzing around his head, and then it landed on his head.
I remember now.
Yeah, and of course his hair is white, so you could see it. Anyways, now Chris Christie, if Chris Christie ends up in another debate and that same fly shows up, I guarantee you'll be able to see it because Chris Christie has enough gravitational pull that fly would be pulled into orbit around him for the rest of the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. He jokes about his weight himself, so I felt comfortable.
Okay, that's all right.
Okay.
Fair game.
So now we have another UFO story here. Now this is unbelievable, and I have a photo of a flying saucer taken from an airplane. Before we talk about that, the 1983, the astronomers sent a radio message to a distant star which contained 13 drawings depicting the history of life on Earth. I think I have a picture of it right here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so each photo of the 13 depicted some kind of the progression of life on Earth, from amoebas to jellyfish-looking things to fish crawling onto the ground to things with legs to an ape, and then to naked people. And the what the purpose of this was to send, if there's another civilization out there, far out into the outer space, they would get it in about 13 years, because that's how long it would take, 13 light years to get there. And they would get it, and then they would say, oh, look, living things, we'll send a message back. And it would also take 13 years to come back. And that brings you to 2023, which is when they were expecting a response to this particular photo. Now, they didn't get a message per se, but they did hear a recording over and over again saying that we have an extended warranty to offer you on your planet. But the thing that bothers me the most about this, and this is not the only, they did this on the Pioneer satellite, they did this on the Voyager, they always send pictures of naked people. Always. They never have us dressed up. They always send naked people, which to me says, if aliens come to visit us, the first thing they're going to look for is a nude beach, because that's what they think all humans should be. Or worse, they'll demand us all to strip before they'll talk to us. This is not necessarily a good idea, unless maybe you're Miley Cyrus or Britney Spears or these other people that like to take their clothes off at the drop of a hat. I'm not doing a full Monty for an alien. I'm sorry. As much as I hope to meet one, no, I'm not doing it. But have you heard of a flying saucer landing on a nude beach?
I have not.
No.
No.
I mean, Jeannie landed on a beach.
Oh, right. Sure. For my dream of Jeannie.
But Jeannie, okay. Okay, kids, it's obscure reference time. Let's see if I can get my horn out here. Karen's obscure reference number 42 from My Dream of Jeannie, because Karen's husband likes to watch that television show, that station that shows all the sitcoms from the 1960s. So you're right, Karen. Now, Jeannie, A, is not from another planet, and B, she's based on what many of my friends in the paranormal business consider to be the absolute most evil spirit in existence.
Really?
Yeah, the DJINN, it's the jinn from India and Bangladesh, from the Hindu culture. The jinn is considered to be the most evil, the most vile, violent spirit that there is. And from that, somehow we come up with the genie from Aladdin, and from My Dream of Jeannie, the beautiful Barbara Eden in a skimpy outfit, showing her great birds to see, I didn't use the word improperly there. Anyways, I know I always that fascinates me. But yeah, you're right. She did land on a beach. Why did she land on the beach? I don't remember. Karen, you're the expert. How did she end up on the beach in the first place?
She ended up on the beach because they had crash landed.
Well, that's how they ended up on the beach. But how did the bottle that the genie was in?
Well, the bottle can be anywhere. Come on. It's imaginary.
No, I don't think. Okay, we're going to talk about this next week. We're going to talk about this next week, because I want to know how Jeannie ended up on the beach.
Okay.
Okay. In the meantime, let's talk about UFOs. This is by far the best and strangest UFO picture I have ever seen. And I'm going to put it up here for those of you who can't see it. I will describe it for you. So this guy is looking out the window on an airplane, because he had a window seat, and that's what you do. And he looks out the window and he sees what it doesn't take a rocket scientist to describe it. It's a flying saucer off the side of the plane. And as it gets closer, he looks at it and he can see a 5-letter word. And the 5-letter word is truff. 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 Now, he doesn't know what truff is. All he knows is he just saw the flying saucer fly past his plane. Luckily, he had his phone set and took a picture of it, so we all could see it. Now, I looked up truff, and what truff is a brand of hot sauce, believe it or not, and it's called truff because it's made from truffles, white and black truffles, which are the world's most expensive mushroom, if I'm not mistaken. So if I don't know, if extraterrestrials are advertising for truff, what's their motto? What's their motto? Live long and perspire. What else does hot sauce make you do but perspire? If you eat enough of it, it's no wonder their heads are so big. They're eating this stuff. Their heads are about to explode.
I have to say, this is puzzling me. This really is, to say the least. If I can interject here,
please do.
It looks like a flying saucer, but
yeah,
if you have, the word truff on it, obviously there's some kind of human interaction with it, right? Or some kind of reference. So I don't know. It kind of is like self-defeating the way that I see it now.
Well, and if you notice, the letters on it are kind of raised. They're raised. They're not painted on the
right.
They're actually raised up, like they did some work on it. So truff, truff is.
I'm just gonna say, I know this isn't Bluff the co-host, but I think this picture is a fake.
You think the truff people may have been doing some advertising here?
I don't even know if that's advertising, if he saw something and maybe doctored up the picture. I don't know.
The picture. Okay. So maybe they saw a flying saucer and thought, oh, it'd be cool to put our name on a flying saucer.
Yeah.
It's still a picture of a flying saucer, which we can't explain. Although it could be computer generated. I will concede. And then the other thing is, I think that if aliens came from light years away and they came to Earth and they were looking for products that they could use, get endorsements for, wouldn't they use something like Milky Way bars or Mars bars?
Sure.
Right? Yep.
In fact, we have proof because E.T. endorsed Reese's Pieces. Okay,
yes.
So they like candy. That's in the movie, by the way, E.T. the movie. When was that made? That was made in the 70s or the 80s?
I think the 1980s.
Yeah. We're dating ourselves here. Okay. All right. So, okay, Karen, if you don't believe this, how about a race of Tyrannosaurus Rexes that happened just recently in Washington, the state of Washington? Would you believe that?
I don't know. Do you have a picture?
Oh, of course. Here you go. Okay.
So, oh.
This is from Emerald Downs, a real racetrack in Auburn, Washington. This is the 2023 T-Rex World Championship races. John, world champion. They have a commissioner of Tyrannosaurus Rexes here.
This could be a great subject for one of our sports, Paul and Karen.
Yeah.
Wait till you see. So what we're looking at here are people dressed as Tyrannosaurus Rexes. I'll fill you in on that. Coming out of the starting gate at Emerald Down. Now we have them crossing the finish line, and just to show how strenuous it is, one of them is down on the track. So I hope they don't have to shoot it or something.
No!
Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah. And just to show you how many people are into this, here's two lines of.
Oh my gosh!
At least 20 people. Karen, there were I think over 200 people dressed as Tyrannosaurus Rexes at this race, and
unbelievable.
They sprinted 100 yards on this muddy track. It was definitely a muddy track, wearing inflatable Tyrannosaurus Rex costume. at the end, just to tell you how hot it was, some of them actually had to make a Jurassic puke.
Oh boy.
There we go. Yeah, it's better than the tits jokes. That's all I have to say. Okay, so you're right, John. I couldn't find any more. They only, I don't know if they do it annually or if there's any other Tyrannosaurus Rex races. This might end up being on on John's segment one of these days.
Yeah, let me try to see if I can do some research, and maybe it'll appear in one of the upcoming weeks as
Love it.
one of our strange sports.
Okay, all right. So now I want to show this picture here. So this one comes from Brazil. A Brazilian adventure firm is offering couples a picnic lunch, including wine, on a wooden table suspended over a gorge.
Oh, no.
Like the Grand Canyon. So this is a photo of two people. They're on a zip line going across this gorge, and hanging from the zip line is a picnic table with two bench seats, and a man and a woman eating lunch hundreds and hundreds of feet above a roaring river next to a roaring waterfall. This is how rich people have picnics without ants. They take the picnic table out. It cost them $400 to rent this table for 15 minutes. That's all they got out there was 15 minutes on this suspended table.
It's 15 minutes too long.
All I can say is this couple has tremendous courage.
Oh,
Tremendous.
I'm afraid of heights. Yeah, I'm afraid of heights. This is far beyond being afraid of heights. I'm also afraid of picnic benches because, all you got to do is, lean back too far. Now, I know they're strapped in, but that bothers me. And the worst thing is, what if you drop your fork? You paid all that money.
Or you dropped your serviette. What if
there you go. That's right.
Wow.
And worse, now there's only two people. I think you can have four, which scares me even more because what if the one person at the end of your bench goes all the way to the end and sits on it and his weight flips you up into the air? I'm not getting anywhere near anything like this. No. What if you see a bee? What if you see a bee and you want to get away?
I don't think bees are anywhere in that atmosphere.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Okay. All right. So one more story on how far ahead of the world we are. Well, we've been talking about the Loch Ness Monster for ages, and there's a big study, big survey going on at Loch Ness. Hundreds and hundreds of volunteers are looking with drones and sonar. We talked about this last week. They're looking for the Loch Ness Monster. Worst part, last weekend, they actually picked up sounds in Loch Ness of what they think is the Loch Ness Monster. Now here, I'm going to describe the sound. Here's what they heard. They heard gloop, 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 gloop. Now, to me, that sounds like they caught the Loch Ness Monster sitting on the toilet. Don't you think, John?
Until you mentioned that, Paul, that was the furthest thought from my mind. But I
now you're not going to be able to get it out of your head. I know. I'm going to do a movie about this. That's what it's the Three Stooges go to Loch Ness. That's what would happen. Yeah. So I've got photos. So they're starting to find more photos of the Loch Ness Monster. So here's one right here. This one was taken by what's their names? Aga Balinska and Maddie Wiles. They were on vacation in the Loch Ness, and they decided to join in with the volunteer, and they took that picture right there. Karen, you putting circles around there in case anybody?
I will, but I'm not sure what we're. Is it this one?
Right in the middle. Right in the middle. There's two black dots.
This thing.
No. The other. I think it's the other. Oh, it might be. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it might be the other one.
Could be either or. I think, folks.
Yeah, it could be.
Wow.
Either or, because neither one of them looked like a Loch Ness Monster.
No.
Anyways, they got up at 6:30. They went swimming. Now, this is the part that impresses me the most. They went swimming, and they took their phone while they were swimming, and they caught that picture there of what they thought was the Loch Ness Monster. So I want to give them credit. I agree, John. Looks like logs, maybe. I don't know, fish.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic non-clear picture of something.
Unclear.
Yeah. The whole thing is like
The whole
distorted.
lot. Well, it's foggy, you know, it's
Right,
Scotland.
right.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, I want to commend them nonetheless for taking their camera out while they were
Get an
swimming.
A for effort. A for effort.
Now, this is supposed to be the best Loch Ness photo ever taken. This comes from a little girl. Her name is Charlotte Robinson, and she was staying at the Loch Ness Highland Lodges, and she was 50 feet from the water, and she saw something. So she grabbed her camera, and there's a picture of the lovely young lady with her smartphone. She grabbed her smartphone and she took this picture here. Now, right in the middle of that, it looks kind of black and white. I would have thought it would be a color photo, but anyways, black and white. There's something that looks like a neck sticking out of the water. Now, much better photo than the previous one. So she turned it into the Loch Ness Register people, and they said that was one of the best Loch Ness Monster photos, if not the best that they have ever seen. I don't know. It's black. She said it was black. She did say, by the way, though, she said that, I'm going to quote her here. She said that after a minute, it disappeared and then came back up again in a different place. It was up for less than a minute the second time. Now, this happens to me all the time when I lose my remote. It's there, then it's gone. A minute later, it pops up again in a totally different place. Is that you, John?
Everyday occurrence, Paul, for everyone. Everyday occurrence for everyone.
So what do you say? What does that Loch Ness Monster look like to you?
Again, too hard to determine. I mean, it could be a creature, but it's not definitive enough. Again,
I agree. Although I will say most of the ones that the previous ones we looked at was generally it's a long flat thing on the surface of the water. We don't see too many where it looks like it might be a neck with a head on top of it.
Right.
But yeah, you're right.
You know what I find interesting, that a lot of these are being taken with camera phones. Okay. Where are all the photographers with all the great photo equipment that could probably zone into this?
Well, Karen, that's a great question you just asked. That is a great question.
John, I know you know the quote. I'm going to screw it up. It's a mystery locked inside a enigma, locked inside a conundrum. Isn't that how the quote goes?
You know what? I know what you're referring to, but I can't either say yes or no to that.
Who was that? That was Winston Churchill said that?
I'm not even sure who the quote is attributed to.
Okay. Well, that's what it is, Karen. I can't explain it.
I know.
There's so many photographers. That's why this big search is going on. I don't know how long it's going to go on, a couple of weeks. So we'll probably be visiting the Loch Ness again next week as more sonar images and video images come in. So this is a big thing. You heard it first on What in the World.
We did.
Groundbreaking as usual. Groundbreaking as usual, we are.
Yeah, but that's right. So I think, there we go. I think we've reached the end of the news portion of our What in the World podcast for today, which means it's time for What in the World of Sports with John Dinallo. Every week, John, my old friend, my college buddy, my fraternity brother, I've known him. He knows more about sports than anybody I've met in my life. So every week I ask him, John, find us a strange sport that fits the theme of real news, sometimes strange, always funny. And John, every week comes up with a strange sport. I ask him for sports that maybe we could participate in. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. This week, we'll let you be the judge. So John, why don't you introduce your sport to us for this week?
Sounds good, Paul. Thanks for the introduction. Okay, Paul and Karen and audience, listen closely. Our sport this week is the Dutch Headwind Cycling Championship. The Dutch Headwind Cycling Championship.
There you go, Mike. We're in awe, and we also need an explanation.
Well, now that is a mouthful for the title of any sport here on What in the World. Let me explain. The Dutch Headwind Cycling Championship is a bicycle race that is only 8.5 kilometers or 5.25 miles long, but is considered one of the hardest cycling challenges in the world.
Wow.
If any of you have ridden a bike against a reasonably strong wind, you know just how difficult dealing with the extra drag can be. Now, imagine doing it in wind of well over 60 miles per hour for at least 5 miles on a bike. And that bike has only one gear. It has a single gear.
Wow.
So what I think is, forget the Tour de France. This is the Tour de Against the Wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Now, the Dutch Headwind Cycling Championship only takes place when the wind force is expected to be at least a 7. And this is at a location in the Netherlands. It's called the Oosterschelde-King Storm Barrier, which directly faces the North Sea.
Ooh.
Now,
So
despite
it's probably freezing cold too.
Yes, despite only taking place during storms in the fall and winter months, it has been held almost every year since 2013.
Wow.
The maximum number of cyclists that can compete in the race is 300, all of whom start at the same place 30 seconds apart from each other. The cyclist with the fastest time is the winner. Now, with weather conditions, yes.
Yeah, okay.
With weather conditions being as bad as they are during this unique race, any kind of technical advantage can make a huge difference in the outcome of the race.
Oh, yeah.
That is why the organizers level the playing field by ensuring that all participants use the same equipment. A single gear Gazelle city bike with back pedal brakes.
Wow. Where do you even buy those anymore? Nobody.
There's a very small market for that product.
The kind of bikes that we rode when we were kids.
Yes, indeed. Right. Now,
I like the back pedal brake. So they don't even have hand brake. This is the kind where you have to use your feet to brake.
You have to use your feet.
Wow.
Now, so suffice it to say, the only things that can provide an advantage in this sport are fitness and endurance of the cyclist.
Wow. The
fastest time ever recorded during the Dutch Headwind Championship was in 2013, when Bart Brentjens finished the course in 17 minutes, 51 seconds.
17 minutes to go. What did you say? 5 miles?
Well, it's only 5.25 miles.
5.25 miles.
Or 8.5 kilometers. Right.
Yeah.
Now, So here it is. Considering that wind speeds on the Oosterschelde-King barrier can reach 75 miles an hour, and I think you saw a photo of a person there riding at 80 miles an hour, 80 mile an hour wind. That is a phenomenal time that's not been beaten. Even though the championship is announced 3 days before a storm is scheduled to hit the storm barrier, hundreds of people register to participate either individually or as part of a team. So there are teams.
I got a photo up here, John, that just to emphasize that. So they announce it 3 days before the event. This guy here looks like he just got out of bed and still has pajamas on, and he is riding in the race. Look at his face. Yeah. The wind is blowing his mouth open. It's blowing so hard.
Oh boy. So anyway, while luck plays a part in the Dutch Headwind Championship, considering the speed of the wind gusts can vary significantly over the 5-mile course, female professional athlete Lisa Schneidenhauer has won the last 3 races, which really suggests that, again, technique and stamina matter most in becoming a champion in this sport.
Now, John, take a pause there. This is not a female racer, by the way. The photo that we have here, it looks like this is a guy wearing a tutu. But it looks like based on those last two photos that some of the competitors like to have fun while they're doing it in
Right.
actual
Yep.
costume. I think I have a photo of this is what an actual competitor looks like. This guy, I don't know if he's the winner, but he's covered in mud. He looks exhausted. People are cheering, so I'm going to guess that he's the winner of the race.
He's wearing a helmet.
He's wearing a helmet. Yeah, well, good for him.
Sure. So, in closing, folks, if you're a serious cyclist looking for a new challenge, just remember what Bob Dylan said. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Oh. Oh.
Blowing
Good
in the
John.
wind on the North Sea in the northern part of the Netherlands. What's it called again? It's the
I'll give you it's really hard to pronounce. I'm not sure if I'm doing it well properly, but it's Oosterscheldekering.
wow.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's the name of the storm. It's an actual storm barrier that was built, to prevent the storms from, having a storm surge, onto the rest of the land there. But it's big enough, wide enough for people to be able to ride on, and that's where they compete. They compete only at this individual location.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
And look at all the people there in the cold and wind.
Freezing cold. Oh yeah, this is obviously a popular sport. And 200. I bet you they had no trouble filling the slots for the 200 competitors.
300.
300. Okay.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, as John described it, a very, very difficult sport, this headwind racing, and great sport, John, by the way. I've never heard of something like this. And as fit of these athletes are, as fit as they are, I want to say that John and I, and probably Karen, have done things on bikes that were far more strenuous than this. Now, this goes back to probably when we were kids, and I have photos of us competing in something far more difficult than this could be. And here's a picture of John riding in the school,
delivering papers,
delivering papers on a bicycle in a snowstorm in Parma, Ohio, probably riding uphill in both directions. I think I have a photo of me as well here, riding down dodging traffic on a bike in snowy streets. We used to do that all the time. I'm sorry. The headwind sounds like it's a tough competition, but hey, growing up in Parma was a tough competition. Wouldn't you say that, John?
I would definitely say so. And I know that street, that this photo was taken at. So yeah, I can attest to it. Well-traveled street, but as you can see, very cold and very snowy. So hats off to you, Paul, on being able to complete your round, so to speak.
All right. Well, another great sport, John. Thanks as always for that.
You're welcome, Paul and Karen. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that means that if it's the end of What in the World of Sports, that means it's time for Bluff the Co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. Every week, I have 3 stories that I will read to all of you. They're similar to the ones that we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference: those were real. These could be real. They could be a bluff. It's up to Karen, John, and those of you listening to decide real or bluff. The wagering is allowed, so place your bets. Karen and John, put your hands on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number 1. Baby boomers who grew up watching the Jetsons are still waiting for their flying cars, but it looks like golfers may have flying golf carts very soon. A company in California has been working on the first fully electric-powered flying golf carts for 2 years and just received FAA approval to begin tests at a golf course in San Francisco. The flying golf carts are expected to be popular with golfers hoping to get an aerial view of the next hole. Their altitude and speed are restricted, and the controls are simple and can be learned with a 5-minute lesson. If they pass the test, look for the flying golf carts at your finer country clubs and senior living villages in late 2024. Okay, so Flying cars, who knows when? Flying carts could be coming out as soon as 2024. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
I'm praying this is a bluff. This would be the most dangerous thing to have around. So I'm going to say bluff.
Okay, because of the danger, Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Karen. I think this is a bluff. I mean, how does the FAA get involved in something as far-fetched as this? I mean, to me, it's almost ludicrous to say that. But I'm gonna wait for the answer here, so I can have a good evening. If it's the wrong answer, I want to have a terrible night.
I was going to say I don't have time. I don't have time to answer how the FAA gets involved in things like this. But anyway, needless to say, let's sum it up. Karen and John both say that flying golf carts is a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say you are correct. Flying golf carts
Thank
is
you.
a
All
bluff.
right, Karen, way to go. All right.
Congratulations. Good start to Bluff the co-host for this week. The score is tied 1-1. Let's get right to story number 2. Winemakers in France have a severe overstock problem due to COVID and changes in drinking habits. But a few have figured out a way to dispose of their excess wine and still make money. Winemakers in the Bordeaux region received permission from the local government to hold wine cask catapult contest, where contestants buy a barrel of wine, load it onto a catapult, and try to launch it the farthest. There are daily and weekly prizes for the farthest toss, and yes, it's real wine. People don't seem to mind as the cask catapults are so popular. The winemakers say that they may continue the competitions with beer barrels or even containers of plain water once their overstock of wine is gone. Okay, so winemakers in France getting rid of wine that they can't sell anymore by holding catapult competitions to catapult barrels of wine. John, I'll start with you. Real or bluff?
Well, Paul, I'm gonna have to say I think it's a bluff. I think it's too contrived. I mean, coming up with this kind of approach to have like a catapult. I mean, a catapult is an ancient device used in warfare, and now you're going to have it introduced to again shoot casks of wine. I just don't see it. I think it's a bluff.
John says it's a bluff. Even though I will point out that in the United States every year around Halloween we have pumpkin catapults, and that's a very popular thing. But John says John likes his wine, and he says, no one would ever do that to wine. Pumpkins, yeah, but not wine. Okay. So John says it's a bluff. Karen, how about you?
Well, I have to agree with John. It's totally different than catapulting a pumpkin because a wine cask is huge. So it has to be a bluff. And if it's not, I refuse to go to France.
Good for you, Karen.
Getting tough here. Okay, so both John and Karen say that the catapulting of wine barrels is a bluff. Check with the judges. The judges say, congratulations to both of you. That's 2 in a row. You're both right. That is a bluff.
All right.
Okay.
Very good. All right. Very good. 2 for 2.
We're hot here today. Okay. So that means let's check the scoreboard. The score is 2-2. Score is tied. Points are doubled in round number 3. It doesn't matter. If both of you get the answer, you're tied. Both of you not get the answer, you're tied. One of you gets the correct answer, you are the winner. So let's get to story number 3. If you ride the subway but are short on cash, the Austrian Transportation Department has a solution. Anyone who gets a tattoo of a special promotional Metro card will get 1 year of unlimited rides on the country's rail, bus, tram, and metro systems. That would normally cost about $1,000, so it's a real deal, and it promotes a new push to use public transportation rather than driving to reduce emissions and fight climate change. Once the year is up, the tattoo is no longer valid on the metro, so you may want to use some of the money you saved for the tattoo removal or to buy more long sleeve shirts and blouses. Okay, so the Austrian Transportation Department is offering free transportation for a year to anyone who tattoos a Metro card on their arm. Karen, I'll go with you. Real or bluff?
Well, my nephew is from Austria, and this better be a bluff. Otherwise, next year for his birthday, he's getting nothing. So bluff.
Okay. I was going to ask Karen if she would do it, but I have a feeling that the answer is Karen says it's a bluff. John, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's a bluff also. I agree with Karen. I mean, I just don't see the logic. I'm going to go to the logic card on this one again. I don't see how that could be something that some type of Austrian transportation agency, would sanction. I just don't think it's possible.
Don't think it's possible. Okay. All right. So Austria, the home of Vienna sausages. Vienna sausages are okay. John says they would never come up with something like this. All right. So that means John and Karen both say that offering a 1-year free pass on all the metro rides in Austria for getting a tattoo of a metro card is a bluff. Let's check with the judges. And the judges say, sorry about that. You're both wrong. That's a real story. They're actually doing it.
That is cruel.
Isn't it very controversial? Very controversial, but
yeah, really. Wow.
Yeah. I can't. Well, no, I take that back. I can see thousands of people in New York City doing something like this to be able to ride the subway for free. I don't think I could see people in Cleveland doing it for a bus pass.
Well, but on this, just as out of curiosity, how does it help the transportation company?
Oh, instead of driving, it's trying to convince people to stop driving. And ride the tram.
Ride the tram. Okay, but they're not reaping any profits from that or gaining any in that.
Yeah. There's somewhat of an altruistic purpose to it, but yeah, I agree. Very controversial.
Yeah.
So let's check with the final score. The final score is 2-2. So Karen and John both go home happy for another week.
Yeah, very good, Karen. Very good. Good competition as always. Very
bluff co-host. Yeah. Oh, very good. Yeah. John's always a good sport, as is Karen. Hopefully all of you out there are good sports about bluff the co-host as well, and about listening to What in the World. I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul, our producer and co-host. Thank you for everything you do at newclevelandradio.net, everything you do for us and all of your podcasts. Please, everyone, visit newclevelandradio.net. Check out all the great podcasts. There's something for everybody there, and they're all free. Thank my old friend John Donalo. John, great seeing you again. Thanks for that great sport and the memories of Parma, growing up in Parma, Ohio.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Of course, I want to thank everybody out there listening, watching, however you're partaking of What in the World. We do this for you. This is you are the reason why we get together once a week with our strange news stories that we hope give you a laugh. That's the main reason why we're here. I was mentioning this to my dentist. There's no talk shows on right now because the writers are still on strike. So what better place to come for jokes about the news than What in the World? Tell your friends, tell your relatives. This is the place to come for your funny news stories and jokes fix. And on that note, it's the end of August. Next time we see everybody will be in September. Hopefully we'll have more Dallas Wings news, good news for our favorite WNBA team.
Go Wings.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, go Wings. Okay. On that note, I think